He's complimenting you on your earrings today. He wishes that everybody could see how pretty his mom looks today.
$4.95, baby. Seriously, I love them.
They don't look it. And advice for everybody who's watching, get your fingers out of your nose. The rest of you, get your fingers out of your butt. And he said, make a commitment to yourself to pay attention to how you feel. Because I'm always preaching about emotional honesty, and I think the first step to do that is to actually acknowledge that you're feeling something.
That's true.
And let that lead you the rest of the way. Okay. Because I don't have to teach you about any of it. As soon as you start paying attention, you're going to want to start grooming yourself to be the person you want to be.
It's all about awareness.
Yes.
You got to dig deep and look inside. And outside.
Okay. He's making that somehow into a sexual reference. Of
course he does. Any chance, any little crack in the door that you give that guy, and he will take it. He'll run with it. All right, Erik, guess what we're going to talk about? Loss or love. No, we're going to talk about loss. There are so many possible losses for us in our lives: health, self-esteem, control, direction, faith. And today, for this particular segment, I'd like to talk about loss of control. First of all, we'll start with Erik. First of all, let's talk about loss in general. Tell me about loss. Beside the fact that it sucks.
Straighten up. Loss in general, Erik. Go. Come on. Stop. Do it. Big, he's kind of doing his hands abroad. Big misconception. There really isn't loss because we are part of a whole. So if we're thinking about loss of a father, a child, loved one, best friend, animal, plant, whatever it is, you truly haven't lost them. There's transition. There is the farewell to the physical body, but I think everyone is very aware that communication is not based on the physical body. Communication is based on language exchange, emotional exchange. The physical part is more for, we'll just say, touching.
Oh, Erik.
Then, even though that has a level of intimacy, is not necessary to find the depth of another person. You do that through communication. And the loss of a person through death doesn't take away your ability to keep that relationship or find that intimacy through communication, because it still exists. But you're humans, and you've been taught that when death occurs, it's an absolute loss, and you can't find it, and you walk around and you look for it. You're right, that same kind of experience with that person who is now gone can't be repeated, can't be found, but it does continue. So what did you just say? So he's confused. He's confused on how you want to talk about the topic, because it's really not about actual loss. It is about how do you adapt into the new way of communicating with your loved one. Because they are not, he's shouting, his arms are, they are not dead.
Of course not.
They're not lost.
But you talked about how, yes, there is the loss of, you don't have the communication, etc., but of course you can. There's really nothing gone except for that shell. And when you touch and hug, it's not the shell that's giving you that. It's the emotions and the language.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Right on the nose. All right, but loss in general, it doesn't have to do just with the death of our loved ones. There are other types of losses.
Right, like loss of money, loss of status, loss of title.
That's a good one.
Like, what other loss can you think of, Mom?
Oh, gosh, I've got a list of like 1 million of them. But how does that? What can you say about other losses? Aside from the loss of a life, is it the same as what you just said?
No, he's getting really rowdy. So get yourself together and talk again. So loss of money, loss of self-esteem, loss of title, loss of an ability. All of this is not really a loss. You only perceive it as a loss because we've been trained that there is a right and a wrong, that there's a positive and a negative. So there is no true disappearing act. There's transitions. There's degrees. There's a scale of gray, It's not one definite versus a different definite and a true absence. So if we take loss of money or loss of title status, like you got demoted or you got fired or you can't find a job, this kind of loss of being able to identify who you are through a career or giving back to the community, this kind of shift, and I'm not saying that you need to look at every loss, air quotes, that's happening to you with rose-tinted glasses and everything is half full and positive, because a lot of that is bullshit too. A lot of that is a cover-up technique. I really want you just to look at it for what it is and what it can give to you. And when I mean what it can give to you, I'm not saying that it has to be positive or negative. Just look at it for what it is. Most of the time, with a loss of job, it is showing you that you weren't walking the path that you really wanted to do in the first place. Because if you were absolutely connected to your emotional honesty and doing what you love to do and your happiness, I'm just talking so fast.
It's so funny because when you said that, when you said he was talking really fast, all of a sudden you were talking, he's talking real fast. Was that Erik? Was that you doing that?
Did I do that?
Yeah.
I recognize that. No. I hope he's not puppeteering me. It's like when I pay attention that I'm listening and repeating so quickly, I interfere. So, but he's going back to it. If you're really doing what pleases you, what you really desire in doing, you're not going to stumble across a loss at all. You might stumble across a transition, but it's only giving you an opportunity to add something else to your life that you're interested in. Mm-hmm. So when people are seeing it as a loss, I like to step in and say, well, shit. You probably didn't really need what you had to begin with. You probably didn't even want it to begin with.
Well, maybe it just changed. I mean, maybe you needed it and wanted it to begin with, but that's not to say you were on the wrong path. It could be, okay, my path has changed. What about that? You're being so black and white, Erik.
I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing some hand gesture. He's like, yeah.
Gangsta move.
Yeah, that gangster?
Yeah.
He's saying you're right. Sometimes your needs and your passions change mid-stride, but as humans, we are taught to focus on the goal that we created the first time and not surrender what we've started. And he says, that's just a crock of shit too. You have to acknowledge in mid-stride, if you've changed, the situation needs to change. That's just like saying, I need a break. I'm working too hard, I need a break. I need a break. I need to take some time off. But you don't do it. You keep going and you keep going because that's the way you're either sabotaging yourself quietly or that's the way you've been trained to keep going. Don't take a break. Taking a break is a sign of laziness and weakness. So you know what happens. Can you guess, Mom?
You have a breakdown.
You have a breakdown.
You get gray hair like me.
Break your arm. There's your break now. You can't type anymore.
Yeah.
Like something will occur in your life because you're making these statements. You're manifesting it. You're giving it energy. You're giving it thought. You may... What do you mean? So it's not having direction. So even if you're saying, I need a break, but you're not doing anything in your life to create this break or this vacation, this, rest that you need, your life or your environment doesn't know how you want it delivered. So it'll give it to you in the easiest way possible. And that might be breaking your arm or getting you fired from your job.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, blowing out the tire in your car so you can't make it in that day. It's like giving you a break.
Ah.
You have to take responsibility that what's coming your way, you've played a part in. Whether you are consciously aware of it or not, you have played a part. You have surfed that wave and you're riding it in.
That makes sense. Well, maybe if we look at loss as a disguised opportunity to travel down a change in our path, maybe the one that was designed by us. Would that help?
Yeah, he's doing a very, broad smile.
You're so cute. By the way, I saw you looking at your nails when you're doing the gangsta move. Did you, are you hiding the fact that you don't have a manicure? What's going on there?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I was trying to figure out how his fingers were.
Oh, I thought you were looking at your nails like, oh my God, I should have polished them.
No, because it looks like he had, one finger folded back.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, sometimes the details aren't that clear when you see him, but you can see his arms are up and some fingers are sticking out weird, but it's not just gun fingers. It's not pointing fingers.
It could have been worse. There could have been worse gestures he can make. All right, so anything else about the general... tell me some more, because in the next segment I want to go over some specific losses. What can people do? You said why it occurs and, what's going on as far as that's concerned, but how can they change their perspective? What did they need to do?
In general, I would like to look at loss as a quiet manifestation.
Okay.
So somehow, like we mentioned before, you're surfing the wave, you're riding it in. Now, the talent is either, and if you can't do this talent, rely on somebody else to do it for you, which would be a therapist or a life coach to get you to kind of step back and rise above it so that you can see the parts of your life or how you're interacting and why your environment is feeding you that loss. If you can't do that yourself, get somebody else to do it. And when you're able to pull back, then you can see what is your, he said truest self, and I said, can you describe that? What he means is when you pose the question to yourself, if money wasn't a concern and there was no problems, what would you be doing? How would you play that out if you had no concerns? And often that gives you the absolute direction that your heart and your soul and your body and your mind want to go in, but you're creating these walls or assuming that there are walls that you can't get over. You're blocking yourself. And he said, and I would look at that. And most of the time, 98% of the time, you'll find out why that loss is in your life.
It's like stepping in dog shit. You can sit there and walk around with it, but you can also take a look from a different perspective. Oh, that's dog shit on my shoe. And then wipe it off. So it seems like when you step out of a situation, like out of the dog shit, into the clean grass, it just really helps. Broaden your perspective instead of getting mired in it.
Yeah, and he goes, it actually can be that kind of frustration that reminded you stopped paying attention where you are. For some reason, you were ignoring at that moment where you are, and you put yourself in a situation that's not attractive. You stepped in the shit. And this little remembrance is going to then kick in, so when you're finishing your walk, guess what you're doing? You're looking where you're stepping.
Ah.
And that could save you from so much other.
That's true. I kind of like to look at it when I'm struggling, just sort of, act like I'm pulling myself up and looking down at my life, and it's like a chessboard. And am I being a pawn? Am I letting circumstances or people push me around? I mean, what? And it also kind of makes me think that life is just a game. You're going to lose some of the little battles. I mean, they're going to, you know, whatever. They're going to jump your bishop or whatever. I don't know anything about chess. But quit laughing. I'm getting lost here. You throw me a lifeline. But yeah.
Jump bishop. You know what he just showed me?
Oh, no. Oh, Erik.
He's so funny in that way, too, but I try not to react to it, but it is funny. He's so sharp and quick and witty, and it throws me off my game. Still, it throws me off my game. How many years are we into this now? And it just like...
I know, it's amazing. Always has something up his sleeve, that boy. But yeah, I'm saying just looking at it as if you're distant from it and kind of stepping back and checking it out.
He loves that. That's why he was describing, if you can't do that for yourself the way that my mom does it, then you need to reach out to someone who can help you, like the therapist or like the life coach.
Okay. Well, I think that's great. Erik, you have anything else to say about loss in general?
No, he says, let's get into the details.
All right, we'll do that for the next segment. Stay tuned, peeps. And, oh, by the way, you need to check out Jamie's site. You are not going to believe the stuff she's got going on there that can be absolutely mind-blowing and mind-changing. And Erik, don't make a joke about that mind-blowing thing. I just know it's around the corner, okay? No.
Also, to learn more about Erik, go to channelingerik.com, and that is Erik with a K.
Well, you didn't let me finish giving your site. Withloveandlight.com. Withloveandlight.com. All right, we'll see you next time, peeps.
Bye.
Bye.